All right, so today we're diving deep into some pretty groundbreaking stuff. AI legislation in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be breaking down this essay by Jörg-Owe.
Okay.
It's all about the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act. And get this, they're the first major power to actually try and regulate AI.
Yeah, it's a big
So everyone's watching to see how this plays out.
Definitely what's so fascinating here is that the EU is really taking this proactive approach. You know, they're not just waiting for things to go wrong. They're trying to, like, shape the future of AI.
Right. It's not about stopping progress or anything, but setting some ground rules, for everybody.
Exactly.
So what's the main goal of this AI Act then?
Well, the essay really lays it out.
Okay.
The EU wants to make sure that AI development respects human rights, safety, and ethical principles.
Okay.
So it's about creating this trustworthy AI landscape, one where people feel confident that AI is being used responsibly.
Okay, but how do they actually plan to do that? I mean, AI is such a broad field, right?
Well, that's where the risk-based approach comes in.
Oh.
The AI Act actually categorizes AI systems according to their potential risks.
So like a rating system for AI.
Exactly, like a rating system.
Okay.
And for the AI applications that pose the highest risk, the ones classified as unacceptable risk, they're just banned outright.
Hold on. Banned completely.
Banned.
What kind of AI is so dangerous it gets banned?
Well, think about it. Like, government-run social scoring systems.
Okay.
Like the kind used in China to, like, monitor and control citizens.
Yeah.
The AI Act says that kind of thing is a hard no in Europe.
Wow.
They also ban AI systems in toys that might encourage children to engage in dangerous behavior.
Okay, so they're thinking about all these edge cases.
Yeah, they're trying to be thorough.
Those are some pretty clear lines in the sand then.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you think about, the potential downsides of AI if it falls into the wrong hands.
Absolutely. The EU is sending a strong message that certain applications of AI just won't be tolerated.
Yeah.
It's about putting human well-being front and center.
So what about the AI that's not banned? How does the AI Act deal with the rest of it?
Well, for everything else, there are 3 other categories. High risk, limited risk, and minimal risk.
Gotcha.
So high-risk AI systems are those used in areas like healthcare, transportation, and finance.
Okay.
These are systems where failure could have serious consequences.
Yeah, I can see why they'd want to be extra careful with those.
Right.
What does the Act say about those systems?
Well, for those high-risk applications, the AI Act mandates rigorous testing and transparency measures.
Gotcha.
So developers have to demonstrate that their systems are safe, reliable, and won't discriminate against certain groups.
Okay.
It's all about ensuring that AI used in these sensitive areas is held to the highest standards.
So it's not a free-for-all for companies developing AI.
No.
They actually have to prove that their AI is up to snuff.
Exactly. It's about accountability and transparency.
Okay.
And to enforce these rules, the EU is setting up a new body called the European AI Office.
Ah, yes, the AI police. I remember reading about that. So what will their role be?
Well, they're going to be the watchdogs, making sure that the AI Act is implemented effectively across all 27 member states.
Okay. So they've got a big job ahead of them.
Yeah, they do.
They'll be monitoring AI development, investigating complaints, taking action against those who violate the rules.
Right.
So they're not messing around.
Nope.
What about the limited and minimal risk AI? Is there any regulation for those categories?
Those categories face less stringent requirements.
Okay.
So, for instance, limited risk AI might involve things like chatbots.
Yeah.
The main requirement there is transparency.
Okay.
Users should know they're interacting with AI, not a human.
Okay.
And minimal risk AI, which includes things like spam filters, is pretty much left unregulated.
It makes sense that they're focusing most of their energy on that high risk stuff.
Right.
But even for the lower risk categories, transparency seems like a key theme here.
It is. The EU wants to ensure that people are always aware when they're interacting with AI.
Yeah.
Regardless of the level of risk involved.
Makes sense.
It's about fostering trust and understanding.
Now, the essay also mentioned something called the AI Pact.
Yeah.
Is that another line of regulation?
Not exactly.
Okay.
The AI Pact is more of a voluntary framework.
Okay.
So it's a platform for companies and research institutions to collaborate and share best practices on AI development.
So it's more about encouraging responsible behavior than enforcing strict rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
The idea is to create a community of practice where developers can learn from each other and work together to address ethical challenges.
So kind of like a support group for AI developers.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
It sounds like the EU is trying to cover all the bases here, setting clear rules with the AI Act, fostering collaboration with the AI Pact.
They're taking a multifaceted approach. It's actually quite different from what we see in the United States.
Oh, really?
Where the focus is primarily on voluntary guidelines and frameworks.
Oh, interesting. You mean like that NIST framework I've heard about?
Exactly. The U.S. approach relies more on industry self-regulation, while the EU is taking a more proactive, legally binding approach.
So the EU is really setting a global precedent here.
Yeah, I think so.
But the essay also points out that the AI Act wasn't developed in a vacuum.
Right.
They actually involved a lot of different voices in the process, right?
It's a key point. The EU really emphasized a multi-stakeholder approach. So they consulted with citizens, businesses, academics, researchers, ethicists.
Wow.
A whole range of perspectives.
That's really interesting. So it wasn't just a bunch of politicians and tech CEOs calling the shots.
Not at all. They held public consultations. Worked with the European AI Alliance, which is a platform for open dialogue on AI. And they even set up advisory groups to make sure they were hearing from diverse voices, especially from groups who might be most affected by AI.
It sounds like they were really trying to get this right.
Yeah.
To make sure the AI Act was as comprehensive and inclusive as possible.
They would put a lot of effort into it.
But surely not everyone is thrilled with it. What are some of the criticisms or challenges that Schnepphat highlights in the essay?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is finding that sweet spot. Between regulating AI and potentially stifling innovation. So some member states, especially those with booming tech industries, they're worried that the regulations could make them less competitive globally.
Yeah, I can see their point. Too much regulation could scare away investment and drive innovation elsewhere.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act. And then there's the whole issue of lobbying influence. The essay talks about how some businesses tried to water down certain parts of the legislation.
Oh, really? Like what? Do they give any specific examples?
Yeah, there were attempts to exempt certain general-purpose AI systems from the stricter regulations. These are systems that can be adapted for a wide range of tasks. And some companies argued that they shouldn't face the same scrutiny as AI that is specifically designed for high-risk applications.
I see the argument, but it does sound a bit like trying to find a loophole.
Right, and that's the concern. Critics worry that even general-purpose AI can be used in ways that pose risks, so they shouldn't just get a free pass.
So it's a tough situation.
It is.
You've got to balance the need for innovation with the need to protect people from potential harm.
Exactly.
And then on top of all that, you have the practical challenges of enforcing this complex piece of legislation across 27 different countries.
Absolutely. Each member state has its own legal system and its own way of doing things. So ensuring consistency and effective implementation across such a diverse landscape, it's a massive undertaking.
It's going to be a real test for the EU.
It is.
So where do we go from here? What's the current status of the AI Act?
It's really close to being adopted, but it hasn't been finalized just yet.
Gotcha.
And even once it is, this is just the beginning.
Right.
AI technology is constantly evolving, so the legislation will have to adapt and evolve alongside it.
Of course.
This is just the first chapter in a very long story.
It's like we're standing at the edge of a new frontier. Exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time.
Exactly. And the EU is trying to map out this new territory. You know, establish some rules of the road for AI development.
Makes sense. What's really interesting is that the AI Act seems to be having a ripple effect globally.
Oh, yeah.
Even countries that haven't yet created their own AI regulations are looking to the EU for guidance.
It's true. They're setting a precedent.
So even though the AI Act specifically applies to Europe, it could end up influencing how AI is developed and used all over the world.
I think that's very likely. The EU is setting a standard. And for companies that want to operate globally, complying with the AI Act might just become the standard practice. Regardless of where they're based.
It's amazing to think about the impact this could have. It's a reminder that the decisions we make today about AI will have consequences that reach far beyond our own borders.
Right.
We're all interconnected in this digital age.
Absolutely. And it's why it's so crucial to stay informed and engaged in these conversations about AI regulation and ethics.
Right.
We need to make sure that AI is developed in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Well said. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the EU's AI Act.
It has been.
Huge thanks to Jörg-Owe for providing such a thought-provoking analysis in his essay.
Yeah. His work is really valuable.
It's given us a lot to think about.
It has.
Now, before we wrap things up,
okay,
we want to leave our listeners with one final question to ponder.
All right, let's hear it.
If the EU's AI Act does set the global standard, what does that mean for countries that haven't yet grappled with AI regulation?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Will we see a convergence towards stricter regulation globally? Or will we end up with this kind of fragmented AI landscape?
Right.
Like different rules in different places.
Yeah.
That could create a lot of uncertainty for businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
And could even lead to some, risky situations.
It's almost like we're at a fork in the road here.
It is.
One path leads towards greater international cooperation, harmonization of AI rules, while the other path could lead to a more fractured and potentially dangerous world.
Yeah.
Where AI development is happening in a less controlled way.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to, stay informed and be part of this conversation.
Right.
The choices we make today about AI regulation will have a huge impact on how this technology shapes our lives tomorrow.
So to our listeners, we challenge you to keep digging deeper into this topic.
Yes.
Read Schnepat's essay.
Definitely.
Explore other research and opinions. And don't be afraid to ask the tough questions.
Yeah.
What kind of future do you want to see for AI?
The future of AI isn't something that should be decided by a small group of people behind closed doors.
Right.
It's a conversation that needs to involve all of us.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those big questions. Until next time, keep diving deep. So much to think about. And thanks again to Jörg-Owe for this awesome essay.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
It really helps us to understand this complex new world of AI law.
Absolutely.
Before we go any further, let's just take a second to remind our listeners
that
we are not experts on this topic.
Right. We're just two people having a conversation.
Yeah, we're not lawyers or policymakers or anything.
Haha.
So don't take anything we say as legal advice or anything like that.
Definitely not.
We're just trying to break down this essay in a way that's easy to understand.
And hopefully a little bit entertaining.
Exactly. So if you're looking for more in-depth analysis, definitely go check out the essay yourself.
It's worth a read.
All right. With that out of the way.
Okay.
I think it's time to wrap things up.
Sounds good.
Any final thoughts?
Just that this whole conversation about AI regulation is really just getting started.
Yeah, it feels like we're at the very beginning of something big.
It's going to be fascinating to see how things unfold.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those big questions. Until next time, keep diving deep.